You're listening to 7 Things We Know for Sure About Homeschooling. In this special 7-part series, the founders of homeschool.com and Laurel Springs School provide comfort and guidance to parents around the world who find themselves homeschooling. In This We Know for Sure About Homeschooling, Rebecca Kokendorfer and MARILYN Mosley Gordanieer offer timeless wisdom and advice to help you succeed at and enjoy your home learning experience. Episode 1. Your priority now and forever is bonding, joy, and growth. We're so happy you can join us. We created this special series for you because we believe this home learning experience can be one of the highlights of your life. We believe it can be a special time for your family, and we have some ideas that can help you relax into the experience, grow from it, and even have fun with it.
We hope this will provide you with comfort, assurance, and a sense of appreciation for you and your child to be learning at home. Rebecca and I feel uniquely qualified with over 50 years of combined homeschooling experience. You see, we homeschooled our children and discovered how to adjust our approach for each child. We also help thousands of other homeschooling families through our work. Rebecca was the creator of homeschool.com, and I founded Laurel Springs School. But mostly, we feel qualified and privileged to inspire you on your journey because we loved homeschooling so much. In fact, it was one of the highlights of our life, and we want you to have the same kind of beautiful experience.
This is a very special time we're living in. While you're reading or listening to this and wondering how you're going to homeschool your children, parents from around the world are wondering the same thing. Parents in almost every country of the world are suddenly doing school at home. So why don't we decide now that we're going to enjoy the experience? We're going to learn from it and grow from it, that we're going to be closer as a family and closer as people of the world because of this shared journey.
You may be naturally thinking that the priority right now is lesson plans and scheduling, but Rebecca and I are here to tell you that the priority right now and forever is family bonding, joy, and growth. These are very precious moments, and homeschooling enhances relationships and gives you the opportunity to know your children in a profound and deep way.
Bonding's incredibly important right now. It's foundational to our children. Research has shown that deepening the bond with your child enhances well-being, self-esteem, the ability to learn, and compassion for others, human and animals. Bonding teaches children to trust, to empathize, and to communicate. So this time that we have together is precious because it allows you to do more bonding.
And strong bonds start with good communication. This can be a time when we treat each other with extra kindness and respect. This can be a time when we work together. It can be a time that we treasure for years to come. Let joy be your guide. There are no set rules right now because this has never been done before. So choose kindness and choose happiness. If you are going to make a mistake, let it be a mistake that comes from love. Then, no matter what the end results are, you will know that your end results are what you chose and that you did your best. If you are wondering what to do next, choose the joyful option. It will have the biggest payoff in the long run. Joy reduces stress and offers the ability to learn in new and wonderful ways. What happens when the child's brain is stressed? Stress hormones end up swamping their bodies and increasing adrenaline and cortisol, which can affect long-term focus and fortitude.
When families first start homeschooling, sometimes parents can feel a lot of pressure to do it perfectly. But of course, there is no perfect. Perfect is an illusion. So we suggest that the priority right now is not perfect, it's growth. Let's talk for a minute about what we mean by growth. First of all, in order for a child to grow, they need to feel safe, and it may take time for some children to rebalance and get used to this new learning culture. It's perfectly fine to give them that time.
Here is one of the ways that helped us to feel confident that our children were growing, learning, and not falling behind. Rebecca and I both use portfolios, and they are very easy to put together. For example, you can put a sample of your child's handwriting at the beginning of their homeschooling and then another sample at the end. This will show you how they've improved. You can keep a list of all the books they're reading or the science experiments they do. You may even add photographs in the wonderful art projects. Portfolios are a confidence builder.
In addition to growing as individuals, this is a great time to grow as a family, to cheer each other on and to see the good in the other person. This is a great time for exploration, so have faith in their ability to learn. You're going to be great at this. You love your children, and this is the most important thing right now. Some days you're going to feel like a rock star, and other days you're going to feel like a total failure. Some days your children will be on fire and will get so much done. Other days, you may need to take a break and just play. One final thought about growth. You may want to limit screen time. Perhaps have a family meeting to decide together how you're going to handle it.
This is a really special time for you and your family. Relax and enjoy it. You can't do it wrong. Children are biologically built to learn. So have fun with this, play with this, relax into this. This time with your children may become one of the highlights, one of the best memories of your life.
Here are 3 questions for you to ask yourself to make this experience even richer. Now, these are also included in the show notes. How are you feeling about your homeschooling? Is there anything you want to do to make it more joyful? What are some ways that you will know that your children are growing from this experience?
Thank you for being with us. We are so happy to share this time with you. And in the next episode, we'll be talking about something we want to do that can sometimes be a challenge, but that makes all the difference.
Episode 2. We're mediocre today. Hooray! The importance of positivity and gratitude. When my kids were young, it was a bit of a wild ride. We had 3 children, 5 and under. Some days the best I could do was just to keep us all alive and make scrambled eggs for dinner. My husband would come home, see the scrambled eggs and say, "Uh-oh, was it a scrambled eggs kind of day?" It made us both laugh. You do the best you can and you keep your sense of humor.
We are in a bit of a scrambled egg situation now, aren't we? Some days mediocre is really good. You show up and you do the best you can, and you celebrate that. In the midst of so much uncertainty, we can enjoy this unexpected gift of time with our children. I hope this conversation supports you through your journey. We truly are unexpected homeschoolers.
Mindset is how we feel about a situation, and the powerful thing is that most of the time we can decide ahead of time how we're going to feel. For example, you may not have had the choice whether or not to homeschool your children right now, but you do have the choice about how you're going to feel about it. Marilyn, I know that you found yourself suddenly homeschooling your grandchildren. Did you feel afraid and stressed when that first happened? And I know that from speaking with you before this recording that you're now enjoying the experience. So how did you change your mindset from one of stressed, fearful, doubtful, and overwhelmed to a mindset of anticipation and even enjoyment?
Well, I must admit it looked a bit daunting to homeschool a 7 and 5-year-old, but also very exciting. And it gave me the opportunity to experience homeschooling in a new time. You know, it's been over 25 years since I last homeschooled my children, and so much has changed, and I've changed since my youngest graduated from high school. When the opportunity arose to homeschool again, I felt like I was participating in an archaeological dig. I had a chance to rediscover and experience my younger life, and it was, I must admit, a special feeling. I had homeschooled 2 of my children through high school, and now I suddenly had 2 little ones, ages 5 and 7, to homeschool. So I had to dig deep. I had so many ideas of what I wanted to do. I realized I wasn't going back in time. I was homeschooling in the present. For example, my 7-year-old granddaughter loves homeschooling and has tons of creative ideas each day about breeding goats, macaws, pigeons, peacocks, clownfish, sardines, and even jellyfish. She has little desire to follow a structured curriculum. My little grandchild, on the other side, prefers workbooks and hands-on math and needs intense personal attention.
I love how you set a mindset ahead of time for fun, acceptance, and appreciation. Our brains are incredibly powerful. They take in millions and maybe even billions of bits of information each minute. When we decide ahead of time what our mindset is going to be, we're telling our brains, pay attention to this. This is important.
Ooh, such a good point. I believe that applies to the phrase, the glass is half full or half empty. It is important how we frame this experience. Rebecca, can you give us an example of having a positive mindset and how that can make a difference?
When my children were young, I used to play a mindset game I called Catch Them Being Good. I had read a study that said that young children hear the word no 70% of the time, and that felt pretty true in our house. I was constantly pointing my finger at them and telling them everything that they had done wrong. I pointed out when they were too loud. I pointed out when they were running in the house. I pointed out when they had made a mess. I nagged them to clean up their room and how to do their studies. But I never once pointed out the good or to thank them for what they had done. I was constantly thinking about and noticing what they had not done. So I invented the Catch Them Being Good game. This was a game just for me. No one else knew I was playing it, and it was really hard at first. My brain was tuned in to seeing only the messes, so I had to train my eyes, my brain, and even my heart to see what else was there. Instead of noticing the bad, I had to pause and find the good. Things like, nice job making your bed. Nice job taking your dishes to the sink. Good job doing your studies without me having to remind you. The kids responded so well to this. Before I knew it, they'd started making their beds more often because it felt good to have my praise and my approval.
So true. And I've noticed I respond better to positive reinforcement too. I have also observed that children respond to different kinds of positive reinforcement or feedback. Some like a small reward, and some like a big hug, and some just like you to say, good job, rather than a negative command like, don't do that, or be careful. I often have to remind myself, and I may have to do it numbers of times, but the more positive feedback I give, the easier it is to see the best in them.
In psychology, it's called reinforcing good behavior. In the beginning, it feels like you are doing a lot of positive reinforcement. That's because you're trying to switch your habit from being 70% negative to being 70% positive. After a while, noticing the good becomes easier and more natural.
Oh, I so agree. I think that being positive is very important, especially right now. We have a lot of stressful things going on. And if we're not careful, we may find ourselves snapping and criticizing the people that we love the most. It's so helpful to notice the things that our family members have done right and to appreciate the sweet time we have together.
Marilyn, do you have any examples of how the Catch Them Being Good game applies to schoolwork? And how does mindset and reinforcing good behavior help with homeschooling?
Let's use my granddaughter as an example. So we read together every day, and I compliment her for each sentence she completes. Even if she is struggling with one word or more, I always provide a comment like, great, lovely, or fantastic when she completes that sentence. It is easier to take risks when you have the support of the ones who love you. I also listen to her read as if I was a child and experience the joy she is feeling with each new adventure. We laugh a lot about the funny parts or comment about the predicaments our heroine or hero has found themselves in. It's so enjoyable.
I love how you're just rolling with it and following your granddaughter's enthusiasm to see where it leads her. I think that this might also be helpful if we give listeners some specific examples of unhelpful versus helpful mindsets. For example, an unhelpful mindset might be, this is so hard, I'm so stressed, I'm so overwhelmed. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't true. I'm just saying that it isn't terribly helpful and it might become negative self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think you are stressed, you become stressed. If you think you are bad at something, you become bad at it. A more helpful mindset might be, we can do this. We are handling this so well. We are learning and growing. We have so much to be grateful for, and I'm glad we have this time to be together.
It is really helpful to have support to retrain our brain. And I would love for you to feel that you're doing a pretty good job at homeschooling most of the time. When you relax into it, everything becomes educational. It's as if homeschooling has given you a new lens with which to view the world and its endless learning opportunities. From cooking, cleaning the house together, to talking at dinner. You can totally do this. Imagine your family 5 years from now looking back at this time. What will you want to remember? What will you want your children to remember?
Here are 3 questions to ask yourself. Remember, all this is included in the show notes. Imagine your family 5 years from now looking back at this time. What do you want to remember the most? What would you like your children to remember? What are some things you enjoy doing with your children?
In the next episode, we want to teach you about learning styles. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode, and it will make a big difference in your life. Your homeschooling will be so much easier, and your children will learn much faster when you can teach to their learning style.
Episode 3, Teach to Their Learning Style.
Welcome back, everyone. We are so excited to be with you. And the next big idea Rebecca and I want to share with you is that each of your children has their own unique learning style. This is a revolutionary idea because when the teaching style matches your child's learning style, learning just takes off and their special talents and interests are revealed. One of the biggest advantages of this unique homeschooling experience is that your child is getting to experience a learning environment that is different than what they are used to. And there are lots of advantages to this.
Let's jump right in and start with an important aspect of learning styles. Now, you've probably heard of these: auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. Auditory learners learn best when they can hear the information. Visual learners learn best when they can see the information, and kinesthetic or hands-on learners learn best when they get to touch or build things. I have 3 children, and wouldn't you know it, they each have a different learning style. My son is an auditory learner. He loves audiobooks and learns best when he can hear a lesson and talk about it. My youngest child is a visual learner. She likes reading things and using workbooks. My middle child is a kinesthetic learner. She is moving all the time and likes to build and create things with her hands. She is also the athlete of the family. So here's the tricky part. I'm an auditory learner, and so is my son, so we are in sync. I teach by talking, and he learns by hearing, so that works out really well. But what about my visual learner and my kinesthetic learner? It's normal for us to teach in the way that we learn best, but that may not be how they learn best. So what can we do? MARILYN, do you have any suggestions for us on what we can do when your child's learning style is not the same as yours? Is there something we can do to adapt their lessons?
There is. So at the core, learning styles are about caring for others. It's about having compassion for how your child learns, and you can combine their way of learning and yours. For example, if a child is a visual learner and you are an auditory learner, you can encourage them to make a list for you of what they are learning. They need to see the information in order to process. You can ask them to make a chart, a graph, or a list and share it with you. If your child is a kinesthetic hands-on learner, try and take time to do hands-on projects related to the ideas they need to learn. You can Google projects on YouTube to help them come up with creative solutions. And if they are doing a written assignment, allow them to doodle or hold a tactile object.
I like what you said about having compassion for how the other person learns best. I remember when my friend and I first had the idea for homeschool.com. I was trying to tell my husband about it by talking him through it, and that made sense because I'm an auditory learner and I learn best by talking and hearing. But he wasn't able to understand me. Finally, he gently put his hand on mine and said, "I can tell you're really excited about this idea and I want to understand it. Can you write it down for me, maybe in some bullet points? I think I'll be able to better understand it that way." That's what this whole learning styles thing is about. It's about good communication. You pause and you adapt your teaching style to match their learning style.
Oh, I so love your husband's response. That is brilliant. I also wanted to talk to our learners about learning personalities, and that is my favorite part of a learning style profile, and it has been so helpful in working with my students and also my children. The learning style personality is how your child likes to learn. Let's break this down a little further. There are 5 main learning personalities: Relator, Creator, Inventor, Producer, and Performer. And I will briefly describe each of them and see if you can recognize your child or yourself in these descriptions. Okay, let's go. So here is the relator. This is a child who learns best when they can work with other people. They care about people's feelings and personal values. They thrive on cooperative learning and environments, and they love biographies. They love being of help and will do better in school if they are appreciated. Relators may be missing their friends right now, so give them time to talk with their friends on Zoom or do homework together over Zoom. This may brighten their spirits. And then there's the inventor. You know you have an inventor because they love to solve problems, fix things, and enhance projects. They love to question, research, and design. This child is best when they don't have time limits. During their normal structured school day, they were often interrupted, so they may be loving this homeschooling time because it gives them time to invent.
And listeners, not to worry because all of these learning styles are in the show notes. Now, this next learning personality is probably the most familiar to you because this child does well in school. It's called the producer. So children who are producers enjoy structure and order. They like taking notes. They like planning, scheduling, due dates, and workbooks. They like an organized learning experience and to check off the boxes. If you have a child like this, they may be having a hard time right now, and they may need you to be really well organized and to give them specific tasks and specific due dates. Then they can work happily on their own until they have accomplished those tasks. Now, if you have a child who is a performer, they love to entertain others. This child learns best when she has variety, competitions, and challenges. If you have a performer child, you can teach using games, manipulatives, which are things that you touch, and videos. Their assignments need to be short and they need to be able to move around. Now, the creating child is artistic and appreciates nature. They need time to wonder, to think, draw, create a project, and to write. They enjoy curriculum that incorporates art, poetry, and writing. They need alone time to think, to wonder, and create. They're probably loving this homeschooling experience because they finally have time to be creative. Now remember, the goal here is to find out what motivates your child. This way, you don't have to force learning and you are all on the same learning team. They end up doing more educational things because it's fun and satisfying for them. You may also notice that your child has more than one learning personality. Most children have one main personality and another that complements or supports the first one. For example, your child may be a relator and also a producer. And so they love interaction and communication, but also love having a daily schedule and checking off the boxes for each completed assignments.
I hope you're thinking about which learning style fits your child and which one fits you. Also, let's talk about children's learning environment. During this unique time, you can support them to discover not only how they learn best, but where they like to learn best. Some children enjoy sitting at a table or a desk. Others like sitting on the floor or working on their bed with their dog by their side or their cat. Your child may enjoy a quiet room or having background music or loud music. Some children are morning learners and others are not. Some children are also find that they like to wake up later and take time to orient themselves to the day. And some children do better when they have pens and pencils and a notebook that reflects their favorite color.
This is the perfect time to incorporate your child's interests into their schoolwork. Acknowledging your child's interests increases motivation. For example, if your child loves horses, you can research the history of horses, the different breeds of horses, and more. Marilyn, didn't you tell me about a student who was fascinated with Jello? I think you said that she researched the history of Jello, which goes back thousands of years, and even experimented making Jello with seaweed, gelatin, rice, and more. This is such a fantastic time to incorporate their interest into their learning experience.
It truly is, and it's also a wonderful time to understand and support your child's innate talents, such as music, math, movement, interpersonal communication, mechanics, humor, and animals. We all have talents that are unique, and this is a perfect time to include these talents in their learning experience. Taking apart a computer, having a meaningful conversation, dancing, making jokes, doing art projects, cooking, and caring for animals, and even journaling are fantastic ways of incorporating talents into your child's daily life. This is learning and might end up being some of the most important learning that they will do.
Traditional classrooms are set up for auditory and visual learners. Producers do really well in this environment too, which is great. But you may have a child who learns best in other ways, and this short time of homeschooling is going to be a special gift for them. Now they get to learn in the way that they learn best. Learning is suddenly going to be so much easier for them, and therefore easier for you. What a relief that will be. You may have already noticed them getting excited about homeschooling. They get a chance to feel good about how they learn.
We know this is a lot of important information to remember, and if you want, you can Google the Learning Success Institute. They are our colleagues who trained us and are considered to be the top experts on this topic. Now, you have a new tool, and I promise it can make a difference. And what a beautiful experience this is going to be for all of you. Later on, when they return to the classroom, they will know more about themselves and how they learn best.
I totally agree, Marilyn. The advantage of learning about learning styles, it lasts a lifetime. In college, I had a hard time learning chemistry, for example, and then I figured out that it helped me if I could read the textbook out loud. So if your children are in a situation where they're having a hard time learning, they're going to know what to do, and they're going to know what works better for them. Their self-esteem will be enhanced, and they'll be able to advocate for what it is that they need.
So here's the big idea we want you to take away from this. Every child has his or her own unique style of learning, and so do you. Their learning personality is key. Are they a thinker? Are they an inventor, a performer, a producer, or a relator? Also, are they visual, audio, or kinesthetic? You may learn differently than your child. You can be an inventor and your child can be a producer. The more you know about yourself and your child, the more you can become true learning partners.
Here are 4 questions to help you make the most of this information. Are you an auditory, visual, or kinesthetic learner? What learning styles are your children? What learning personality are your children drawn to? How do they like to show their learning? By building something or performing? By thinking deeply or telling you all about it? By talking, inventing, drawing, or completing a workbook, textbook, or online assignments? How can you adapt your teaching to match their learning style?
And remember, these questions and a transcript for this episode are in the show notes. Talk to you soon.
Episode 4, Children Support What They Help Create. Hello, everyone. We're so excited to be with you as we all explore and navigate this new home learning adventure. The big idea we want to talk with you about today is the thought that children support what they help create. Now, this is important because it can help you solve some problems that might be coming up for you right about now, and it can help prevent future problems from coming up later.
The idea that people support what they help create is based in the understanding that if I am part of a situation or project, then I'm going to do my very best to make it a success. It's human nature. You see, there is a part of us that wants to help. Studies show that when presented with another person's problems, it's very natural to try and jump in. It's natural to try and solve it. No matter what the outcome is, just being part of the process feels powerful.
We've been hearing from parents that some common challenges are starting to crop up. For example, some parents report that their children seem to be fighting with each other more than usual. So let's apply a simple 4-step process to this particular situation. Step 1 is to share an observation. I noticed that you two seem to be arguing and fighting more than normal. Have you noticed that too? Why do you think that is?
As parents, our natural tendency may be to jump in and tell our children what to do, and sometimes we do need to. But unfortunately, that doesn't always solve the problem and puts us on opposite teams. The fighting may stop for a moment, but it comes back later. By compassionately sharing your observations, they have stepped out of the problem and it shines a light on a challenge that they seem to be having. By stepping back a little, you can help facilitate creative solutions.
So step 1 is to calmly observe the situation that is going on. Notice how step 1 ends by asking them, have you noticed that too? If so, why do you think that is? The next step, step 2, is to listen. So this is usually the hardest part for me. I want to just jump in and tell everyone what to do. But by doing this, by me deciding what we are going to do, I haven't given them a chance to develop their own problem-solving skills. I may have changed the behavior for the moment, but it usually comes back again and again because it hasn't really been solved.
I really like what you're saying. Problem solving is a skill that will benefit our children their entire lives. With this unexpected homeschooling, challenges are going to be coming up, and it's only natural. So the growth opportunity here is for the family to work together as a team to find solutions and to create a plan. I really like family meetings where we each share what we are feeling and the others listen. Then we come together to create a solution.
I love that. Step 2 is about feeling seen and heard. After each person has had a chance to safely speak without being criticized, it's time for step 3, creative solutions. This is my favorite part. I love how the children come up with solutions that I never would have thought of. Some of their ideas are really good.
After you have all talked about ideas, step 4 is to pick a solution and turn it into an action plan. Praise your children for the ideas they come up with. Since the children have a voice in the planning process, they are going to be much more motivated to give it a try.
And by working as a family team, you get to experience the power of synergy. The idea of synergy is that 1 plus 1 doesn't just equal 2, it equals more than 2. The outcome is greater than the sum of its parts. The process of problem solving ends up being more valuable to you in the long run than solving that particular problem.
I really agree, and this is good communication. Every child and adult speaks and the others listen. I often ask each of my children to say what they heard their brother or sister saying. Once everyone has been heard and a solution has emerged, you may find the problem simply dissolves.
Listening and working as a team isn't just for solving problems. It's also for creating dreams. I used to ask each of my children, what is your number 1 goal? Then I made myself really listen to their answer. I wasn't allowed to downsize their goal or protect them by telling them that their goal might not be realistic. So when my son said that his number 1 goal was to learn how to drive every kind of boat, that became our number 1 priority, as important as reading, math, or science. I wanted him to know that his dreams are important to me.
I did that with my children too, and it was absolutely life-changing. They learned that their dreams mattered and that I support them. We do have a special challenge right now because so many activities have been canceled during the quarantine, but new options are emerging. People are resourceful and they're being creative and finding wonderful ways to hold classes and get together online. Let's say, for example, that your child says that her number 1 goal is to become a ballerina. Normally, you would take her to the local dance studio, but that's not a problem right now. There are wonderful ballet classes online.
You take your children's goals seriously and you figure it out. Usually it's not the goal that is important, it's you listening to them that really matters. And it's who they become as a person as he or she works on that goal. They're building grit by discovering new ways to accomplish their goals.
Oh, building grit. I really, really like that. The timing is great right now for dreaming. For some students, they seem to be doing lessons all day, but for others, their lessons can often be accomplished in 1 to 3 hours. This leaves lots of extra time to work on special projects, ideas, and goals. And it's an incredible confidence builder when they achieve their goal.
So here are 3 questions to ask yourself. What is your child's number one goal right now? Try to ask each of your children. How can you help them achieve their goals? What is your number one goal, and what can you do to make progress on it?
This is such a wonderful time to savor and cherish. Thank you so much for letting us share our ideas with you. We are enjoying this time with you so much.
Episode 5, It's Time to Journal. Today we want to introduce you to a powerful and foundational tool, something that will set you up for success for the days and weeks ahead. It's journaling. When people try a new thing like homeschooling, emotions come up, and journaling helps you release those feelings in a healthy way so that you and your family can move forward with less friction and more ease and more joy. The limbic system in our brain, the lizard brain, doesn't like new things. It views new things as a potential threat, and the biological impulse when we are threatened is fight, flight, or freeze. Therefore, before we can move forward with homeschooling or anything else that is new, we need to get a handle on our emotions.
Rebecca, did you know that I've been a lifelong journaler? Primarily for spiritual reasons, and I find that journaling provides me with comfort and a new awareness of how to view my feelings, thoughts, and my day-to-day challenges. I actually started journaling when I was 13 years old. In fact, I've kept all my journals, of which I have over 100. And last week, I was reading my first diary with my granddaughter, and it gave me such insight into my teenage self.
One of the most exciting methods of journaling is called expressive writing. I just want to tell everyone about this. Did you know that if you journal before a surgery or medical procedure, you will heal faster than the people who don't journal? This is powerful. And expressive writing is also scientifically proven to reduce stress and anxiety, and it improves relationships, and it even improves children's test scores. The best news is that expressive writing is fast and easy to do. All you have to do is this. You pick a topic, one topic, like homeschooling or perhaps something that is challenging you, and you write down what it is that you're feeling about it, and you let it all out. So by slowing down and shining a light on your feelings, you release them. Otherwise, those fears, judgments, and doubts, they burrow in behind the scenes, and without you knowing it, they're negatively affecting how you see and experience the world around you. So expressive writing, it's a game changer. If you're having any stresses, fears, or worries about your homeschooling or anything else, get it out of your system by writing it down. This helps you to feel better, and it also gives you clarity and a fresh perspective. As time goes by and new stuff comes up, which of course it will, you can do expressive writing on those topics too.
So I have a question for you. I am so busy these days homeschooling my 5 and 7-year-old grandchildren. I barely have time to shower, much less journal. Is it really worth my time?
Journaling, it really is totally worth the time. Especially during busy and stressful times, the payoff is big. It puts you in a flow state, and when you are in this flow state, you get more done because you're experiencing less friction, and you're happier and you feel lighter about life. And because you are happier, the people around you become happier too. You might want to encourage your children to do some expressive writing too, about their feelings, especially having to do with their sudden homeschooling and the world events going on around them. Total privacy, of course, has to be honored. You don't even need to keep these pages. You can just write down your feelings and then rip them up and throw them all away.
You know, I've discovered that if I journal before I go to bed, it puts my mind at ease. I may only write 1 page, but I feel better. Also, you mentioned that expressive writing helps with relationships. How is that helpful right now?
Since many people are working and schooling at home, it can feel like we're living on top of each other. Expressive writing can help you release annoyances before they blow up and you say or do something that you regret. Expressive writing also helps you look at a situation from multiple points of view. The science behind expressive writing and journaling in general is that by thinking analytically about something that is emotional, you're using the right side of your brain to think about the left side. And this allows you to tackle the situation with your whole brain, a whole brain approach. And this is one of the reasons that journaling is so powerful.
So I've been thinking lately about another form of journaling, the diary. We are living through such epic times, something the world has never experienced before. Kind of like the diary of... Let me start again. I've been thinking a lot lately about another form of journaling, the diary. We are living through something epic, something the world has never experienced before. Kind of like the diary of Anne Frank. The diary entries we write and our children write today will be fascinating and valuable to future generations. Just the other day, I was reading my cousin's journal. It was written during World War II while living in Austria and then escaping to the United States. It was riveting, and I felt I had a glimpse into her life and the lives of my beloved uncle and aunt.
A diary is a record of your personal view of what's happening around you. You can add some photo journaling to this too, and it'll make it even more interesting. You can have your child, for example, take a photo of the empty store shelves or the empty streets, or photos of how you are all working and studying at home. You can take photos of your family going out for family walks, as well as screenshots of that Zoom birthday party. Yeah, keeping a diary, it's a great way for your children to express their feelings, to practice their writing, and to participate and record this historic event.
I'm also thinking I'm going to have my grandchildren keep a nature journal. We are going on lots of walks these days, and keeping a nature journal is so exciting. We have begun the process by hand making their own journals, one for each month. And each night after dinner, they get to write in their journal. My little one draws pictures and adds a few words, and my granddaughter is into birds, fish, and animals, and each week she picks another one to research and write about, and even add photos. Last week, for example, she was totally immersed in Himalayan pheasants. It was amazing to watch her, and I can't wait to see what this week brings.
Your granddaughter sounds like a total doll. Another journaling method I want to tell people about is bullet journaling. So people have a lot on their plates right now, and bullet journaling can help you get organized and stay organized. Bullet journals can be simple notebooks or they can be works of art. You do what feels best for you. The beauty of a bullet journal is that everything is in one place. For example, maybe you have instructions from your children's teachers or ideas for fun projects. Maybe you have daily learning logs or your to-do list, your meal plans, shopping lists, staff meeting notes if you're working from home, even your calendar for the day. What makes a bullet journal different is that you make it yourself and you number the pages. And in that way, you can create a table of contents so that you can find those pages where you wrote down the things that you're really interested in keeping. And in that way, everything is easy to find. Bullet journals have become hugely popular. So if you want to learn how to create one of your own, all you have to do is Google, "How do I create a bullet journal?" and lots of great tutorials will come up.
And we can't forget gratitude journaling. Oprah Winfrey has kept a gratitude journal for decades. Every night before she goes to bed, she writes down 5 things from that day that she is grateful for. What a great way to go to bed. Pausing for just a moment to notice the good in your day and to give thanks for it, that is truly life-changing. I love my journal on gratitude, and it definitely changes my mindset. And I often do a quick gratitude journal in the morning. I pick 3 things I feel grateful about. The amazing part is throughout the day, I remember these 3 things. And you know what? I feel much better.
I really love journaling. I believe that a better world starts with better individuals, and I really do believe that journaling creates better individuals. So to close off this episode, here are 3 questions to ask yourself. Number 1, if you were to create a bullet journal, what types of things would you want to keep track of? Would it help you to keep, for example, a daily to-do list? Number 2, if you made a family nature journal, what would you put in it? And number 3, if you were to do some expressive writing right now, what would you write about?
Thank you, everyone, for being with us. We are so happy and honored to spend this time with you, and happy journaling.
Episode 6, They Will Not Fall Behind.
Rebecca and I recently participated in a webinar for Project Happiness that focused on homeschooling during COVID-19. There were about 300 participants in the live webinar, and they came from all around the world, all schooling their children at home. Amazing. These parents live in different countries, but they had one thing in common. They were all afraid that their children were going to fall behind, and they worried that it might be their fault, and they were not good enough.
This is such a common fear. We want to be good parents and we want to do a good job for our children. So this sometimes triggers in us the fear that we're not doing enough. Even experienced homeschoolers, people who've been doing this for a long time, they almost always fear that no matter how much time they spend on homeschooling, it's not enough and they're not doing enough.
It's so true. So we want to give you 3 concrete things that you can do to prove to yourself that your children are learning, growing, and thriving. But first, let's talk for a moment about what parents really fear when they think about their children falling behind. Usually this means behind their peers or behind grade level. The first words of comfort we want to give to you is that most people in the world are in the very same situation as you. Schools are already planning on how they're going to adjust their curriculum to make up for this time. They know that when the students return, there are going to be gaps that they need to fill.
This is an unusual situation and we're all doing the very best we can. Are we doing things perfectly? Of course not. Fortunately, children are learning machines. Their brains are designed to learn and adapt. And this means that they're going to be able to make up for this time. Most parents have never schooled their own children, and this is a new experience for them. The silver lining is that you are discovering more about what and how your child learns.
In the first episode, we talked about how we believe that family bonding, joy, and growth are the most important priorities. So we want to teach you how to put together an easy learning portfolio so that your children can prove that they are learning and growing. Both Rebecca and I created portfolios for our children, and we found them to be very comforting and a wonderful record of the children's learning experience. In fact, my children still look at their portfolios, and it brings back such wonderful memories.
Perhaps the easiest portfolio to create is to go subject by subject. For example, math, reading, science, history, art, PE, and you write down what they have done for each subject. I like to create my portfolios in Word. I create something for each subject. I also like to paste in photos and samples of their work for each subject area. And even if they're following an online curriculum, I think it will comfort you if you know what it is that they're learning. And this portfolio will be a nice memento for your children, and it might also be helpful information for their upcoming teachers.
Another way to prove to yourself that your children are not falling behind is to set up goals for the week. You have a lot on your plate right now, so we suggest that you make these very easy to achieve. If you have the time, maybe include some creative or hands-on projects to balance out the lessons online. And don't forget our earlier chapter where we talked about how children support what they help create. Involve your children and really listen to what they say. They may say nothing the first time, but keep asking and trying. This is part of the learning experience.
The last thing we want to talk with you about is our belief that learning doesn't just stop because the school year ends. So if you really think your child is behind, and of course we encourage you to trust your instinct, you can continue working with them over the summer. Doing a little bit of math and reading can make a huge difference. There are lots of workbooks and educational computer games that can help with this. Summer learning doesn't have to be hard or take up a lot of time. Just a little bit each day or each week can add up and make a big difference.
We have one final thought we want to share with you. What if your children aren't behind because of this experience? What if they end up advanced because of it? For example, They have been spending more time with adults, and their vocabulary has probably improved a great deal. For example, family dinners are a wonderful time to share information and enhance communication and bonding. I make it a point to spend time at our family dinners sharing interesting stories about their great-grandparents, their aunts, and their uncles, and my grandchildren love it. They have also uncovered special talents like art or cooking. My little grandchild has learned to make the fluffiest omelets all by herself, and my older grandchild has researched and watched numerous documentaries about politicians. In fact, she now thinks politics could be a potential career opportunity for her.
I love the idea of the children not falling behind, but actually advancing because of this experience. I used to be a special ed teacher, and I have a special needs son. So perhaps because of this homeschooling, you have discovered that you have a child with a learning challenge, maybe in reading or math or in a particular subject area. Now, this will advance your child because now that you know about it, you can find someone to help you with it. My friend has discovered that her daughter is struggling with reading, and she might not have known that if she hadn't been spending so much time reading with her every day. And so she's going to look for someone who can help her child with that. It's wonderful. So bringing this episode to a close, here are 4 questions to ask yourself. If you were going to put together a portfolio for your child, what subjects would you put in it? Can you think of a couple of goals that, if accomplished, would be a huge comfort to you? Do you think your child may have a learning challenge? What have you noticed? And honor that. Who do you think can help you with this? You may have to ask around and do some research. And can you think of some fun ways that you could keep the learning going this summer? Even just little baby things that you do that add up and make a huge difference.
Oh, we hope this has been a comfort to you. Remember to be good to yourself. Focus on the positive and take time to celebrate all the ways your children are learning and growing.
Episode 7, Life is a Marathon. The saying, life is a marathon, not a sprint, has been feeling really true for me lately. In the beginning of this pandemic/quarantine/homeschooling adventure, I was in full-on sprint mode, racing around, just trying to keep our heads above water. But we've been at this for a while now, and I've noticed that sprint mode is starting to have some consequences. In the beginning, for example, it was good self-care when my family gathered together each night to watch movies and eat popcorn and cookies. We needed that time to relax and to do something fun. But what I thought was going to be a short time period, a sprint, has turned into more of a marathon. And when I was putting my clothes on this morning, I noticed that they're starting to feel tight. So for me, this means that I need to rebalance. Marilyn, have you noticed anything like this at your house?
Yes, I really have. I'm missing my dance classes, and I noticed that I'm skimping a bit on exercise. I am walking daily, but I'm really not working out. On the other hand, I've accomplished a lot too. I'm taking French online, and I'm meditating, and I'm even writing more. I'm also concerned for the world and the length of this pandemic. So I'm really trying my best to be kind and reach out to others.
One of the reasons I like the saying, life is a marathon, not a sprint, is because it reminds me to make choices that will benefit my family and me for the long run. In the beginning, the quarantine and the homeschooling that came with it required a lot of sprints. We all had to do a lot of reorganizing of our schedules, and we had to quickly learn new technologies. The level of adapting that we have all done is so impressive.
I think so too. And I'm proud of how strong and creative we have been. But like Rebecca, I've been noticing some areas in my life where I need to make some adjustments. When I think of balance, I think of 3 areas of self-care: physical, mental, and emotional, or spiritual. If I get out of balance in any of these areas, my enjoyment level is diminished. So I'm trying to invent new ways to learn, have some alone time, and also have fun. For example, tonight, my little granddaughter and I are going to have a moonlight dinner on the lawn so we can appreciate the glorious full moon. This is a change from our usual dinner and a relaxing way to spend time together.
And I'm not sure which area this counts as, and it is a little thing, but I've been doing a lot of dishes lately. And at first, it was a self-care thing to do because I operate better if I don't have a lot of clutter. So by keeping the kitchen clean and uncluttered, it reduced my own stress. But lately, I've started feeling a little resentful because it feels like I'm the only one who ever does any dishes. So this feels to me like I need to make a change. That's what it's telling me. So I'm going to have a talk with the family and see how everyone else is doing. I'm guessing that we may need to make other adjustments too.
Ooh, I love that you're going to talk with your family. You know, I need to do the same. I've realized that I want to get better at asking for help. And I think the best way to do this is to use I statements rather than blaming or complaining. I get a better response if I say, I have something I'd like to talk about. I've been noticing I'm doing most of the work. I really need some help. This would help a lot if you could help me.
This idea of rebalancing and recognizing that life is a marathon applies to homeschooling too. My oldest daughter feels that she's been watching too much TV, and she has decided to do more exercise, more learning, and more gratitude. She has made a monthly calendar for herself, and every day she writes a G if she took time that day to list out what she is grateful for, an E if she exercised, and an L if she did something that counts as learning, like watching a TED Talk or reading a nonfiction book. And I love that.
It's so good that your daughter can reflect on what she needs to do to take care of herself. I think that living mindfully and knowing that we are in balance or out of balance makes all the difference, and it's the wisest thing we can do for ourselves. Each night before I go to bed, I have been writing in my journal, and it's my form of meditation. It helps me to feel grateful and at peace and happy.
I've been doing that too. When this whole thing started, I just vowed to myself, I promised myself that I would try to be calm and strong. So I've been making time every day to journal, to meditate, and to walk. Because I know that when times are stressful, these three things always keep me centered and happy.
Me too. How amazing we both find the same three things to be essential. And what works for others might be different. It might be a TV show, a bath, or a good book. I've been working on pacing myself with my grandchildren. I need to make sure that we are following the school assignments, but I also believe that life itself is a learning experience. So I've been trying to balance our academic schedule with creativity and fun. Also, I write down 3 things my grandchildren have accomplished that day, and I share it with their mom and dad. It just makes me feel so proud and aware of how much we are doing.
Since this is our last episode, let's do a quick recap of the things we know for sure about homeschooling. Number 1, yes, the academics are important, but equally important is family bonding, personal growth, and daily joy. Number 2, the mindset you bring to your homeschooling makes a big difference, so try to catch them being good whenever possible. Number 3, if you can, try to match your teaching style to their learning style, visual, auditory, or hands-on kinesthetic. Number 4, when you need to make a change or set boundaries, remember that kids support what they help create. Number 5, this is a good time to do photo journaling, therapeutic journaling, art journaling, and bullet journaling. Number 6, you may worry that you are not doing enough and that your children are going to fall behind. Try to relax and be good to yourself. Children are natural learners. Number 7, after you've been homeschooling for a while, check to make sure you're in balance. Take good care of yourself. Here are 2 questions to think about. Number 1, are there any areas where you feel you need to rebalance? Number 2, what are some things you can do to take good care of yourself?
Thank you, everyone, for reading and listening. Be good to each other and look for the good. It is our sincere wish that you feel supported, comforted, and empowered. And Rebecca and I are so proud of you. We hope that you're proud of yourself too. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your homeschooling journey.